And happy Saturday, September 4th, 2021. I want to thank all of you. There were 8 of you waiting. That's fantastic. 5 thumbs up. There's 9 of you now. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let the YouTube algorithm know you want this content. Good morning, everyone. Uh, so Ressi is in the comments. If you can hear me, let me know. And good morning, Bob Carpenter. And I have set the chat so that you have to have been a member of the channel for more than 24 hours, so one day before you can comment. And I am hoping that that will weed out some of the spam and stuff that we get sometimes. Man, look at my beard. My beard is flying away here this morning. Yeah. So good morning, Ressi, Bob, and Tony with Quick Tech. Good morning. Morning news fan, JH, and Chad. Hey, Chad. Long time listener, first time call in. Well, thank you for being here. Joe with Cajoling Technologies. The only one we're missing from the tech quartet is Unky Joe. I don't know if he'll make it here this morning or not. Morning, James Ridgway. And I did not see that AdTrand merged. That's interesting. Good morning, T and Bighorn. So if you all got the notification that I launched a video early this morning, I'm trying something new with the thumbnails. So we'll see if that works out. Newsfan77 says, can you tell me what you think about Ricotta security cameras? Testing one where I work. Well, a couple of things based off of me actually being involved in a test with those. First, um, they are one of those companies that apparently doesn't do the research for the laws for the states that they're deployed in. And so, um, like in Illinois, you could turn on the facial recognition, and without explicit permission, you cannot use facial recognition in the state of Illinois. That is why Facebook got sued by the state of Illinois and lost. And if you lived in Illinois between a certain time period, you're getting part of that settlement. Um, so the other part of that is I do have a couple customers that have the Ricotta cameras, and you will see me talk frequently about being against everything as a service, right? So those security cameras, if you don't pay the yearly fee, they're a brick. They don't work. I don't necessarily agree with that business model. I believe that at some point, if everything is a service, then people who are economically disadvantaged are going to stay economically disadvantaged because they can't own anything. The second thing is you want to own your security cameras, and nothing against AWS, but Verkada uses AWS in the back end. So all of your video is going out to the cloud. Who really knows what Verkada, what, I mean, they didn't, you can turn on facial recognition in the state of Illinois. So who knows what's going on with their back end, right? So, yeah, you won't see me pushing for a system like Verkada anytime soon. All right, back over to the comments. So that news fan, that's what I think. Yeah. So for $200, you could actually buy um, 4 cameras with SD card slots, and and have your own data on site. Ooh, Aruba came out with a hardened switch. Right, industrial switch. Morning, James is in the house. James. Joe with Cajoling, Texas. By the way, I am in for a Tech Quartet 1-year reunion. So yeah, keep your eyes on all of our channels. We'll be doing our 1-year um, Tech Quartet anniversary. You know, we've got some other plans with some other creators, but this year has just like flown by. I mean, as much as last year was a roller coaster, I feel like this year is even more of a roller coaster than last year was, and that might just be me. Good morning, Richard from New York, Raleigh. Good morning, Tennessee. Love Tennessee. Morning, Tim. Morning, Harrison from Belize. Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Zach. And good morning, David. So, uh, JH is talking about MikroTik. They have a hardened router that came out, but also router OS 7 is like really, really close, apparently, to being released. And they've got um, a lot of stuff that people have been wanting. So check that out. Morning Jim from Kansas. David says, how the heck can I get a 2-year-old Unify PoE switch repaired? Well, if it's just the power supply, you can order the power supply online. If you take the switch apart, we had some edge switches die and we swapped some power supplies. But if you can find a power supply in stock, let me know. JC, good morning from San Jose, California. Bob says, wasn't March of 2020 like 3 months ago? It seems like it. Really, it does. It does. This year, last year, and this year, like, when you see those cartoons where like the months of the year just fall off, that's what I feel like we're at. Good morning, Arette from Jamaica. Noodles. Good morning. He finally got a notification, or she. I shouldn't assume anything. Noodles, but Noodles got a notification. Good morning. David says PoE and power seem fine, just dropping the network. Yeah. So I'm going to be honest with you. If you've got a 2-year-old Ubiquiti switch and you didn't buy it from Ubiquiti, it's likely not worth getting repaired. Take it out to the range, put it under some tannerite, and let it roll. Have you used Network Olympus for monitoring? Interesting. Network Olympus. No, I have not. In fact, I haven't even heard of that one until you just said it. Let me look it up here real quick. It's Network Olympus. Yes. There was somebody last week complaining because I wasn't sharing my screen. I've got to get that all worked out. Let's see. Network Olympus is a powerful tool for network monitoring, is designed for continuous monitoring of individual computers, local networks, and other services. It's network-olympus.com. Bob, could you throw that link in the chat, please? Might have to check this out. I'm not saying that I am endorsing this. I'm saying that as a product, we are going to definitely check out. Yeah, Zach says good news for MikroTik users. You can now install zero tier on your router. Yep. And Russi says router OS 7 is out if you get the CCR 2004s. Interesting. Good morning, Mohammed from Turkey. Glad you're here. Uh, yeah, a friend of mine who is now an IT manager for a regional bank. We had a problem one time with a firewall, and we literally would put it in the freezer and let it sit there for an hour. It would cool off, and then it would work good for a few days, and then we'd have to keep putting it in the freezer. Newsfan 77 says recommendations for APs for a 3,600 square foot house, probably Grandstream, or depending on what your requirements are. I don't know if you have children in that house and you need to stay on top of what's going on. You could use a Synology router at the head end. You could actually do a Synology full mesh network, or you could put a Synology at the head end in transparent mode and have different access points, things like that. So my oldest kid, my older son, is now taking college classes and he's in networking. So he is actually going to help me at some point this weekend. I'm going to have him help me finish tearing out what's left of the Unify stuff, and we're going to deploy all of our Grandstream APs, and we're going to put the Synology back in so that I can do some more fine grain um, things like shutting off certain devices at 9:30 p.m. for those kids who have to get up and go to school. JH says for unlimited devices, it's about 2750 USD, so not as bad as most, but not the free ones. Yeah. Um, that's definitely interesting, especially if you're an MSP or you're providing some of that service, you could shift some of that cost. Barry's in the house. Good morning, Barry from Pennsylvania. Tony says we cooked an HP formatter board to bring the printer back to life. So did you do that to melt the solder and let it get back in the places where it was supposed to go? That's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. So if you're in the States, this for a lot of people is a 3-day weekend. Labor Day on Monday. I hope everybody is uh, relaxing. Everybody's doing well. We're going to actually drive today to a meat market that's supposed to have like 50 different flavors of brats. We're going to get some brats and we're going to cook brats tonight. And then we're going to watch all the Scream movies. Well, who knows how far we'll actually get into into the Scream movies, but we're at least going to start. And we got to get some popcorn. My favorite popcorn is the stuff you put on the stove that you heat up, and it's like what's in the first Scream movie. And my family last year got me a whole case of it. I just need to make sure because it's not all gone. I need to make sure that it's not expired. Otherwise, we're going to pick up some popcorn too. But that is what our plans are for tonight. And I've got a bunch of email and stuff I've got to respond to. Uh, being out, like the illnesses that we've had and being out and stuff like that, I got pretty far behind. I'm almost caught up. Over the next couple days, having a couple days off, I should be able to get pretty well caught up. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, so let's see. Barry says he gave his team a 4-day weekend. That's pretty nice of you, Barry. Jiffy Pop, JH, that's exactly what it is. Bob, yep. And so, yeah, so they actually, I went to, we don't shop at Walmart a lot. And in fact, we were there the other day just to pick up a couple quick things, and they have severely reduced the amount of live person cashier stations that exist, checkout lanes. It is like 2/3 automated, 1/3 real people now. So like I want to know, like, are they going to reduce their prices by 10% or what? This is we're in that weird place where automation displaces workers. So now we've got to figure out what we do with those workers. This has happened throughout our entire industrial revolution. We make tools that make our jobs and our lives easier, and then we retrain people or we come up with other things. And that's what tools do, right? Tools make us better, and tools free up our time so that we can do other things. And so it's just that, but like, they announced they're giving their workers a pay raise, and this is not going to get political at all. And they announced that, for some of their workers, they're going to, pay for college and things like that. But then, so it's like, I don't know if they're laying people off. I'm just going to have to watch it. But anyway, it took me totally by surprise. But this time last year's probably August, we went and they had like 8 of the Jiffy Pops left. And so I bought those and then ended up getting a whole case for my birthday, which I really, really, uh, really appreciated. I am a Ubiquiti supporter, but we support a lot of other brands. So we don't just rest our hat with Ubiquiti. That would be a fool's errand if I told all of you that Ubiquiti is going to solve all of your problems and that you should install Ubiquiti everything. That is absolutely not the case. And so I won't do that. And I'm at a point where I have to call out companies when they're doing stuff, and not necessarily call them out, but point out to my viewers, subscribers, customers, that things don't work properly. Like I did the video earlier in the week about the L2TP IPsec VPN. You can't even refute that. It's a bug, and we know it's been there for over a year. So what are you doing, right? You've got this bug. You're pushing people towards this new user interface. You've got this bug where it doesn't work, and uh, uh, but you release telephones, and I'm starting to see people get a hold of me, about problems with Unified Talk. I haven't used it. Um, so it's definitely interesting. They're at a really Ubiquiti is at a really weird place where they've still got all these outstanding bugs, all of these things that should be addressed, but we just keep putting more and more services in. I just had a talk with a guy the other night who asked me why I'm not deploying Unify Access. And the reason that I'm not deploying Unify Access is because um, in the state of Illinois, you have to be very careful with how you handle not only camera installations, you're supposed to be licensed and bonded in the state of Illinois for anything that has to do with security. So you could put that in the same, you could put Unify Access in the same bucket, right? And there are companies and people in this area that if they find out you're installing these things and you're not licensed and bonded, you're not part of a union and things like that, they will turn you in. Um, and then you always have, there's like YouTube videos of people using like Maglocks on this stuff, and there's a lot of life safety stuff. So with a Maglock, you've got to have two different ways to actually get the Maglock open. And I mean, I'm not going to install any system that's going to have somebody's house catch on fire and then they can't get out. I'm just not going to do it. So I do really like a lot of stuff that Ubiquiti does, but some of the stuff puzzles me just like everybody else. And so I will continue to install Ubiquiti hardware. I still support and install USGs. You'll see other YouTube channels that tell you to stay away from them. I think they work great in ideal scenarios. I think the UDMs work less spectacularly than USGs, but people already have them, so we support them. We help them, make them work. So I don't not like Ubiquiti. I do like Ubiquiti, but I like a lot of other vendors, and a lot of other vendors are doing things right, and those vendors are going to have a spotlight here too. So, all right. Good morning, Alonzo. Good morning, R. Andrews from Ireland. Psychedelicide. I think I pronounced that correctly. Probably, probably not. It says great stuff on the Notepad video earlier as my text editor of choice. I use it for anytime Windows is installed. There's two tools that I install for. I know I've got a huge list of videos that have to get done. I'm starting to get caught up on that. So to the vendors, if there are vendors watching this and you've sent me gear, I apologize. I've been communicating with you via email. Things are coming. It just takes time. So there are a couple of tools. The very first things that I install on Windows, of course, after Malwarebytes. Well, so it's Malwarebytes is the first thing that gets installed on Windows, then 7-zip, then Notepad++. Um, at a minimum. So, um, yeah. So Barry says, "Amen." I leave the building access to the pros. So we consult on that. But yes, I, especially in the state of Illinois, use other companies for that. That would definitely. I can consult on those projects, but I don't physically install them. That would change my insurance. It would change the state requirements and things like that. And I prefer just to not mess with the state. That's just like you always hear me say, like, hey, it's quarterly tax time. Look, no matter what you think about the government, there are things that you got to do, right? So pay your taxes. Don't try to cheat the government will circle back. Just I'm not telling you to jump when somebody says how high, but I'm saying there are just some common sense things to make your life easier. Let's see. TN Big Horde says, I wonder how Illinois handles installs from out of state vendors. Are they forced to comply with those regulations? I would think that they are, and maybe the state just doesn't know. Because here's the thing, if I get a call and I get tattled on by somebody, or somebody knows somebody, you know how this works, right? And I get a visit, I get a call, I get a letter in the mail, or whatever. That's different than if people are coming in and doing it, right? So I went to a barber a couple years ago. My family got me this like whole shave package, right? Where she shaves your face and you get the hot towel and the neck massage and the head massage and she cuts your hair and does all the things. And she was shaving me with it was like like a porcelain straight blade, and I asked, what happened to the metal ones? And you can strop it, and she goes, well, you're not allowed to do that in the state of Illinois. I'm like, oh, because I've seen pictures of barbers who are still stropping metal razors because health concerns. But she said, well, those barbers are still doing it because the state doesn't have enough people to enforce that, right? So unless somebody calls and reports it, it's probably going to go unnoticed. For me, living here and um, it's just not worth the risk for me to get caught up in the middle of something like that. All right, back to the comments here. JH says Maglock should always fail open, but I run into some that don't. Yeah, one of the scarier things I've seen lately with Maglocks is that somebody actually wanted to put a Maglock on a walk-in cooler, and 95% of the people in the forum was like, "That is a horrible idea. Don't do it." I agree, it's a horrible idea. Don't do it. And then of course you had the people who were like, "Well, you could do this, do that," and I'm just like, "Good lord, somebody's going to get caught in that freezer and freeze to death, and it's not going to be good." Yes, Bob Carpenter says the right tool for the job. Absolutely. All right, Harrison says I have a Sonic Wall firewall, Unify switches and access points, Grandstream IP PBX, and phones, and a GDS 3710 for access control. You likely have a pretty nice network. However, you will find yourself having to swap out those Unify access points if you want to do voice over IP over Wi-Fi and you want it to work correctly. Good morning, Terry. Terry says, good morning. Did you ever do anything with the solar point? So my solar switch is still sitting over here. I don't have a solar point yet. I think you actually offered to send me one for testing. And I don't, if you sent it, I never got it. Um, but I have, I'm going to do some filming. I have to build a box for a video on the channel that I got to get caught up on. And so you'll probably see the solar, the panel in the garage because I'm going to shoot some B-roll and stuff like that. Morning, CH. Bob Carpenter says it's one of the programs that I use from ninite.com when I do an initial install. So ninite.com is an awesome piece of software. You can create policies and install the Ninite agent on your computer, multiple computers. You can set a policy and you keep all of your third party software that it supports up to date. It is absolutely beautiful. It's worth every penny. They have a free version for home users, which is kind of nice. Sean, yes, I also love Notepad++. No problem. That's what we're here. Share some of this knowledge. Hugo, hello in Monterrey, Mexico. We've been talking about going to Mexico, taking the kids. I'll have to see. Probably won't happen this year. Yeah, Night is fantastic. Good morning, TVJ. TVJ says, paying my estimated taxes is on my to-do list for today. Yes, so the state and the federal government should have mine. So, um, after I send those checks, I watched the bank account starting at about day 3 just to make sure those checks go through. I mean, they're gonna clear, obviously, but I just want to make sure that they've hit it and we don't go past that date. Oh yeah, so putty is pretty important. However, I've been relying less and less on putty for actual SSH sessions since SSH is now built into Windows. I often find myself just doing Windows R, CMD, and then SSHing in that way. If I'm generating keys and stuff like that, I still use PuttyGen. P-Link is awesome. You can automate a lot of SSH tasks with P-Link. Back in the day when you had the firmware where you could do a live stream from a Ubiquiti G3 camera, I actually wrote a script that sat on the desktop, and you would just, if you wanted the camera to go live on YouTube, you would just click on that. It would SSH in, run the commands automatically. I love P-Link. David Anderson says, I'm guilty of staying with Unify in some areas just for the single pane of glass. Even so, having to expand my gear, trying Netgear for that blown switch. Yeah, and David, are you still running those Cisco ASAs? Because I will tell you what, I'm working with one of my clients out of Wisconsin, and he just ordered a boatload of these. The is it going to focus? Yeah, this is the this is the QNAP um, Huora router, and we are using this because we are doing the selective VPNs. We're doing all kinds of stuff with this. I think he's got 12 sites, 14 sites, something like that. And so that's our first large install of those. And I think it's going to work out great. Gibby says, have you done Grandstream's intercom and pagers? Yes, we absolutely have. In fact, James is finishing up with a client where he's got one more of those intercoms left. Where is my intercom? It's in the other room with the racks and stuff and all the Synologies and everything that runs in the background. But yeah, James is finishing that up. I think it was a 48 or 50 apartment install. So there's a 3710 on the outside of the building. And then this is a building. The tenants are, um, uh, I can't get into too much detail on this, but I will say that you have to know who lives there, and you can't just punch in the apartment number. We've changed um, the apartment numbers do not correspond with anything, so you have to know the code to call what apartment you're looking for. And so far, I think it's working out pretty good. Prav Fieldy says, is there a single vendor solution that would work for a multi-site customer setup? I think there shouldn't be one. But it does get hard to manage. Your thoughts. So I got to tell you, you're going to see more TP-Link videos. And if you're not wanting to use Unify, the thing that I like about the TP-Link hardware is that it can either be in the controller or not be in the controller, and you have the same functionality, which I think is pretty nice. I think TP-Link is gonna they're setting themselves up to do good things. Yeah, T and Bighorn says there were times where I've done several installs in other states and I wasn't required to adhere to those regulations because it was a single install. Well, if you've been to Illinois, you know things are a little different here. I'm not telling on you, but it could get kind of. I'll never forget. I was in Rockford, Illinois, and we were running Ethernet cable, and of course we're from out of town. This also happened to us in Champaign, Illinois. You're from out of town, people don't know you, you're not a company that's local, and stop to break for lunch, come back, your Ethernet cable's cut, all your stuff's pulled out of a DMARC, even though you're on the customer side. I mean, we've run into some interesting things even inside the state with stuff that we can handle. Morning, Cody with Mac Telecom Networks. He said fire codes are huge. We've installed Unify Access when the client already had it. We only pulled the cables and didn't install the hardware. That is a good policy, Cody. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that Unify Access doesn't cover yet. You can probably like do a workaround to make it work, but once again, we're getting back into that. Yeah, the 7630CH says, love my GWN 7630. I've also got, you want to hear something embarrassing? So I was getting ready to do a video, getting caught up on videos, testing. So you're going to see the Grandstream Wi-Fi 6. This is the 7660. Absolutely love this little beast. Love it. I was going to do some testing. Heads up against a Unify 6. I cannot find my U6 light. It has turned into vaporware. And I'm like, where the hell does an access point go around here? It's not mounted anywhere. I set everything on the bench. I zip tie stuff to the rack temporarily for testing. I cannot find my U6 light. Ubiquiti's going to be so mad with me, but I might have to just buy another one for the testing. Morning, David. Dennis says, Willie, I'm loving Huntress. How about you? I have not deployed Huntress. I know a lot of people love Huntress, so I can't really speak on that. Harrison Cooper says, yes, correct. I couldn't get the voice over IP over Wi-Fi to work. Couldn't figure it out. Thanks for the insight. Yeah, it's your Ubiquiti access points. They don't respect quality of service. The handoff is funky and things like that. So also, if you're using database programs that don't do local caching, but are always talking to SQL occasionally, the handoff between Ubiquiti access points will likely cause your program to crash. Sean says 99 is awesome. At our org with needing scale, we went with PDQ deploy and inventory, which is more powerful. Interesting. I'll have to check that out. So we were just having this conversation. The Tech Quartet was just having this conversation about Windows, the WSUS server, and what I like for smaller. Man, that beard is really flying. I'm gonna have to get something for that. It's bothering me. But we are going to or sorry, we were talking about WSUS and Unky Joe, was talking about some of the challenges with that. So I will tell you, for some of my smaller clients, I actually run a program called Batch Patch, and you should check that out if you've got like 10 PCs or less. Batch Patch is fantastic. And then pair it with Night, and you pretty much just have to check, make sure everything's run, and it goes. David from Southern Illinois. Yes. Good morning, David. James Ridgway says client looking for a good PTZ camera to live stream funeral services. So for something like that, I probably wouldn't. There's a lot to that. Like, what are they, James? What are they? Are they trying to do it like a church service? Are they trying to do it like a meeting? Like, there's a little bit more details that we need, because there are some cameras that have HDMI out, so you could go to like an ATEM. Or there are some that are network based that use multicast and then can be put into some capture software. There's a few different options. We need a little bit more detailed before we could give you a specific recommendation. T and Bighorn got out of Illinois while the getting was good, is what is what I'm reading in that comment. JH says in Alabama, you have to be certified by the same place that watches over locksmiths. Yeah, it's similar here, right? So you have to have a perk card, you have to have all that stuff. So I would prefer not to go into the details. I will tell you, we were not at fault in either of the situations. It wasn't. It was like a rivalry type thing. Justin Kinsey, hey, good morning. Yeah. So if you want to know more about the cut, you can email me. I don't think a lot of the details should probably be in a public video. Do you expect the GDS 3710 to get a refresh soon? So they are constantly updating the firmware. Um, at this point, I know they've got some other products based around collaboration and stuff that they're trying to get out. They're trying to get their Ethernet switches. They're trying to get a 4x4 Wi-Fi 6 AP out with multi-gig Ethernet port. So I don't expect to see personally the GDS 3710 to get a refresh yet, but as they keep building into building control, I think you're going to see some things. TN Bighorn says in Tennessee, it's delegated by the city you're working in. The larger cities like Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville all have similar regulations. Yeah, Joe from Cajoling says check out PDC Optics for live sharing. Yeah, if you go to B&H and just type in live stream PTZ, there are some high-end cameras. Don't expect to get them for like $400. I mean, they are expensive cameras, but they're worth every penny that you're going to get. And by the way, there are 64 of you watching, 36 thumbs up. Please hit that thumbs up button so that the YouTube algorithm knows that you're liking this content. Noodle says, good info on Ubiquiti's limitations. Does Omada work with voice over IP over Wi-Fi? So that is one thing that we are still on my test checklist. There's been a lot of things with Synology. I have this huge Synology security checklist. I cannot talk this morning, that we're going to be going over as well. Yeah, see, so here's the thing. Like, I feel like what we need to get a bunch of FAQs stuff together, and Joe from Cajoling Tech should just give us all a lesson on this, because that his wheelhouse. And Tony does a great job over at Quick Tech. So those two fellas can really help you take your video game to the next level. Some of the stuff that you see here with the lighting and things like that came from Joe and Tony. And Tony this morning was telling me, giving me some pointers about, because we're all looking at as the YouTube landscape changes, like what are these things that you have to do to stay in the game, and one of them is the thumbnails. And so I was asking, what do you think about the thumbnail, what should I do? And Tony gave me some tips, so we're gonna talk about that. Noodle says, is there any other besides Grandstream that works reliably? Well, it depends on what price point you're looking at. So the next thing that you could do is you could step up to Cambium. I can't definitely tell you that TP-Link is going to work yet because we still need to test it, but Cambium does work. Um, any of like, I haven't tested the Aruba um, with voice yet, so I can't speak for that. But any of the stuff as you start getting a little bit more expensive is usually going to have that vetted and is going to work for that. Yeah, Ruckus is going to work with, you just reading the white papers and the specs, you can see that they respect all that stuff. And there would be an outcry if, like, in these larger installations, like Ruckus didn't work properly. And Ruckus has engineers that they send to make sure that a lot of these larger installations works. Morning, Mike Phelps from Indiana. Good morning. So go ahead and post any of your other questions, because I'm going to have to get going here shortly. And yes, the Great Smoky Mountains are calling me. They certainly are. My wife just said the other day, she's like, I wish we were back in Tennessee. um, Yeah, so Dennis makes a great point. MikroTik wireless is cost effective, but get prepared for a task of setup. So that's the thing, right? You'll see a lot of people badmouth MikroTik, and that's because they don't really understand networking. MikroTik will make you learn networking, just like Cisco will make you learn uh, networking. And Bob says, "What's the coffee du jour?" So this morning's coffee is Dunkin' pumpkin something. I don't know. I just crawled upstairs at 5:30 and made it, and I've been nursing this cup for about an hour. But yeah, micro tick, and I want to do a lot more micro tick videos, but they take a lot more time if you're going to do them correctly. Um, so also the week of, if you are interested in my Ubiquiti training, the Unify training, we've been talking about this, and I'm going to send out, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, head on over to williehow.com and get on the newsletter, because I'm going to be sending this out this weekend. But in October, the week of the 11th, we're going to do an 8-hour Unify, um, Unify Zoom training, and it's basically going to be a brain dump. I'm thinking the price is it's going to be somewhere between $200 and $500. It is not a certification course, but the people who sign up are going to have exclusive access to me for 8 hours. We're going to go over all the different setups, all the different hardware. We're going to have conversations, talk about real life deployments, things like that. So if you are not on the mailing list, you're going to want to go do that. And then that week, we are also, here's the thing, right? So, like, Illinois just put a mask mandate back in. Hear rumors that schools may be remote learning again. So as long as I can safely do the Grandstream training, that is the same week that the on-site Grandstream training is going to be. I've got calls into a couple hotels, and they are uncertain what is going to happen as well. But make sure you're on the list, the mailing list, if you're interested in that, because that is going out via the mailing list probably tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, because we've got to get those dates locked in. Back to the comments real quick. Uh Joe from Cajoling is so funny. Uh let's see. Did you ever watch Tech TV when it was online? Yes, I did. Leo Laporte, I absolutely did. JH says, I wish more brands would do self-study certs. Like I do the edge switching cert, but it's not worth the cost. Yeah. And as somebody who has the Ubiquiti Unify certification, um, you have to walk in there with a lot of pre-existing network knowledge. Um, and I'm not sure that what you get charged for a 2-day class with most of the ones I'm seeing are between $1,000 and $2,000 for 2 days for that. I'm not sure that it's worth it, to be honest with you. That's why I have a hard time grappling with the cost. People like want to spend time learning and with me, but I have a hard time. I could not for an 8-hour class. I have some real reservations about charging. Like I cannot charge $1,500. So I'm still trying to decide the cost. But Harrison says, I think I'll explore Grandstream wireless products as an alternative to sort out my voice over IP Wi-Fi. Any recommendations? Yeah, the 7630. Joe, I will be putting out the date. I'm thinking about doing that one on like Wednesday. Yes, screensavers. And there's also a lady, Shannon Morse. You remember her? She used to be on there. I follow her on Twitter. I really like her content. So JH says, I just finished the JNCIA and have a CCNA. The only one left that I can find for self-study is the Aruba one. Yeah, so I am studying for the CWNA, the Certified Wireless Network Administrator. I haven't put the stickers on any of my gear yet because I'm going to wait until I get certified. I've got till the end of the year. Otherwise, my voucher that I paid for expires. So that is coming. And then I'm going to do my CISSP, and we'll see what happens after that. So, yeah, she's also on YouTube, and she is also tied in with Darren over at Hack 5. Good stuff. Yeah, and I think Tony with QuickTech, I think Leo owns Twit, doesn't he? Isn't he part owner? So, yeah. All right. So now is your chance. We're gonna call it in about 3 minutes. So if you got any questions, put them over in the comments. I appreciate you all being here. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button because it does let the YouTube algorithm know that this content is shareable, right? Let's see. Cody says that PF Sense has a cert now. Yeah. And lots of people getting into that. I just hope that they don't do the same thing that. So I will tell you, I'm a VCP on VMware 6. And, um, I had my VCP 4 because I was also a VMware certified professional on vSphere 4. That cert expired. Well, when they said that the next certs wouldn't expire, they expired them. They have since changed that because there was such backlash from the community because they were turning it into a huge revenue stream. So yeah, Joe with cajoling, we need to talk because TechSmith has an LMS that is meant to work with video. So I've been thinking about that. So, um, right, JH, I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. But we do need the beginner. We need the beginner stuff, right? Because everybody starts somewhere. So, all right, I want to thank you all for being here this morning. And if you need IT consulting, go to williehow.com. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Without you, this channel doesn't exist and we don't get to share this knowledge and all these cool things with the world. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And if you've got anything you want to say, you can ask anybody. I respond to every one of those emails as soon as I get a chance. Sometimes it takes me a day or two, but I do respond personally, whether I'm copying somebody else in to get clarification or whatever. I do. So I do want to thank you all for coming out here today. I hope you have a great and safe weekend. If you need anything, get in touch. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.